Japanese Story, an Australian film from 2003, manages to create the conventions of a traditional romantic plot, only to steer towards a jarring pathway. If you haven't seen it before, now would be the best time to watch it and then return. We follow Sandy, who's coerced into being a sort of tour guide for a Japanese businessman, Hiromitsu, as a favour for the company she works with, to gain some traction and a suitable connection for both businesses. They go through the outback to witness massive machines, landfills, and the overall vast open nature. Sandy immediately begins annoyed and negligent, having to deal with Hiromitsu's reserved and snarky attitude.
Suzuki? 最悪だよ。いや、それがさ。
I mean, Hiromitsu, get real. The guy's a jerk. A real jerk. Boring as bloody cat shit.
There's hints of feelings after Hiro finds himself a drunken karaoke singer, but it's when their vehicle becomes stuck is where they are put to the test. We spend lots of time in this one area and absorb the aggravating thoughts processed throughout the segment.
You stupid electric piece of shit!
I will walk back and find someone. How far have we come?
Now, Hiromitsu, there's one thing about the Australian desert. You never leave your vehicle.
How far have we come?
I don't know, but 50 kilometres?
12 hours walk. No problem.
Oh, for God's sake!
There's dedication and distance between the two, and only when they manage to escape, the tension breaks. We see them both get along, and Sandy examines Hiro like never before, and connects with his world as he connects with her. From the obvious moment where Sandy puts on his business pants, to the subtle changes of black and white clothing swapping over.
You don't even want to speak to me.
Oh no, I want to kill you.
But without me, you are alone. And then you die.
Oh, maybe.
Yes, you die. In the desert.
Hey.
As we enjoy this time, we find out that Hiro has a family back in Japan when Sandy notices, so we begin to feel unsettled with that conflict. It's where it's all going to head, the tragedy of a sweet and low romance where Hiromitsu will unfortunately, but respectfully, leave Sandy for his wife. Think again. As the audience is blinded by their love, predicting the romantic footsteps, we're living Sandy's dream from afar until it becomes a nightmare. Everything that's been expected is stripped away, tension fills the air as Sandy swims with worry, shock,
Hiro? Hiro?
and what happens next is one of the most uncomfortable, gut-wrenching scenes in film. We slowly witness Sandy drag Hiromitsu's body in horror, all the way to the car. There's no music whatsoever, and just this agonizing longevity. The love story is gone. We are all stuck here with the frantic movement, screams, and cries for help, all in the empty desert. It's realistic. We are put into shock just as much as Sandy. The wet sand going everywhere, the lifting of the body, the deep look at an empty soul, it's all happening. Why is this happening? Everything was so great, until now. Sandy lifts his body every little step of the way. She has to get him to the car. Toni Collette's performance is what makes this situation mind-numbing. Whenever she pauses and looks at Hiromitsu, it's that disbelief. Someone who was lively and vibrant is no longer here. And Gotaro Tsunoshima's performance is immaculate too, as he makes a convincingly deceased man.
It's another thing to take the energy out of your body like he does. And we did it with yoga, physically bringing all of the energy out of him, part by part of his body. And he was just like liquid. And then he just kept going with that process.
As she moves around his body, trying to lift Hiro up, we imagine this situation happening to us and how horrifying that could be. Because this happens. Life can be extremely scary in its real-life plot twists. Whether it's cancer or an accident, these scenarios can take us aback. It's a moment in time that is important to capture. In the conventional romance plot, a scene like this would be put in the background. Either you hear about it, or it's done in a more dramatic fashion. There's many reasons as to why this scene works so well. The main factor though is it's real. This can happen. It shows how small actions can cause a major turn for another. If Hiro didn't dive into the shallow water, Sandy's story would have ended less tragic in his death, although tragic in their romantic end. Hiro would have returned to his wife and family, hurting Sandy. This is difficult because there's no clue where to go anymore, but the story keeps moving. Hiro's body is taken to the closest morgue. There's professionals sorting out what happened during the trip. Hiro's wife appears in Australia, who only says 4 words throughout the whole film, yet captures the loss in her eyes and movement. There's an uncomfortable collision with Sandy's boss, knowing that she has been traumatized from the events without his knowledge of what happened.
They're calling it an incident. I mean, even the photos, you've got to get them back. At least get them back.
I can hardly go and demand the photos back, Sandy.
Why not?
It's rolls of undeveloped film. She might not ever get them developed. Surely she's entitled to a few photographs of the last days of her husband's life. Christ! What the hell were you doing out there anyway?
And the reality that Hiro will be returning to Japan in some way. The struggle to keep moving on with the story is hard. Where do we go from here? All these moments are occurring, yet Sandy feels out of place. She's changed from what she was. There's only one more thing to do, and that is to complete Sandy's arc. She is given the opportunity to say something to Hiro's wife, not because she has to, because she wants to apologize. Sandy grows by expressing about Hiro to her in Japanese, a language unbeknownst to her.
Tashibana-san, Goshujin totemo ripa, anata no koto to hanashita. Totemo I Okusan, none to you. Oh, I'm so sorry. I should have not let it happen. It was my fault. My responsibility. I'm so sorry.
It's heart-wrenching, as someone who began annoyed with her life, grew with Hiro opening her eyes, even if the action was wrong. But a reveal earlier, where Hiro's wife looks at photos between the two, shows how happy Hiro was during that span of time. That time spent together was immensely grandeur. We could acknowledge that right before Hiro's immediate death, he retained a passion he probably rarely felt in years. The impact of the situation changes Sandy, and if that didn't happen, she would have been secretive to the wife. Hiro's wife gives Sandy a letter, and with the utmost respect, leaves the airport along with Hiro. And out of this whole story, Sandy has evolved to be better.
Dear Sandy, by the time you read this letter, I will be on the plane going home to my wife and the children. I'm sorry you have to read my funny writing. I hope you are well and happy. Now, I can be good husband, good father, good man. But today, I stand in the desert. The sky is so big, so blue. There is so much space, and my heart is open.